had when I worked at the bookstore in Bayou St. John, we had a woman who would come in all the time, and I think her name was Janice, and she was a grief counselor, and she loved it. It was like her favorite thing. It gave her so much satisfaction to do it. And she wasn't like weird. She was like a cool lady, but just like loved being a grief counselor. And every time she left the bookstore, she would stick her head, like she would walk out and then stick her head back through the door and say death and dying and then walk away.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
Whoa,
that rules.
Janice is a cool fucking
It's
lady.
fucking metal.
Wait, what's her last name?
I have no idea.
Did she have like a white lady fro?
She had, I think, like a pixie, like a therapist
never mind.
pixie cut.
A therapist pixie cut.
Yeah.
Where's that canned wine at?
It's open in the kitchen.
Tight. I got water like.
Oh man, remember that barbecue we had where you brought the canned wine, but you're drinking it like beer?
Yeah, and each one is half a bottle of wine. And I drank like 4, and I was like, I've only had 4 wines, and I was like, oh, I've had 8 wines.
You stood up at one point and was like, whoa.
How many ounces is each one?
12.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I know. It just
See, I
goes
couldn't do
down.
it.
That's
You
why I
offered
have
me
to.
one. I'm like, no, because the temptation of like.
You're not
just
supposed to
wanting
drink
like,
it in the can.
I know.
Yeah,
God,
you're supposed to
it's-
pour it out of the can.
Yeah. Especially if you're like at like a festival or a picnic or something. It's just so easy to carry it around.
Wine in the sun, that'll fuck you up more than anything else.
Yeah.
Or vodka in the sun.
When
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when we got started drinking boxed wine, I would drink it out of a mason jar, and so I was like filling it up. I was like, because this is when I was drinking like a maniac, and like I had to cut back, and so I had to I like filled it up to the line and no further, and I was like, wine's fucking good, like this is good, and then it turns out I was filling it up to the 8-ounce line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how fucking fluids work, I guess.
I mean, I am just trying to get down to a bottle of wine a night. Like, that's a responsible amount to me.
I think that is.
I mean, that's what
I think
it's 4
that is
or
harm
5 drinks,
reduced.
which isn't
Yeah.
crazy.
If I can
mean,
drink a bottle of wine a night and like take off 2 nights a week, I feel like that for New Orleans is like a healthy.
Oh, you
drinking
take
habit.
off?
Only when I'm hungover. So like I take off and I feel like a rock star the next day, and I'm like, I'm
Right.
so good. I'm not going to drink that much, and then I reward myself by getting hammered. So like,
Yeah.
I am like last night I did drink at Hi-Ho just to recover because I was so hungover.
Yeah.
And then I didn't drink at home,
Yeah.
so I only had like 3 drinks, and I woke up feeling great today. But then tonight I'm going to get drunk probably. So
It's
Yeah.
also that thing of stopping at a certain point. Like if you drink right before you go to bed, it's way worse in the morning.
Oh,
Like, if
yeah.
you stop and then eat something decent and then drink water and all that, like, you know, like I kind of like afternoon drinking. I like having like 4 beers in the afternoon
and then stopping.
and then stopping.
Yeah.
And then just having the rest of the night.
Dude, whenever that happens, I get a headache and like get fucking tired, and then
Really?
I can't have like a night at all if I do day drinking.
Yeah, I don't like day drinking. Like, it inhibits my ability. Well, first of all, I can't do anything physical after I drink. I don't understand how people like will drink at brunch and then like work out. I don't get that. I know women who do that
Oh
occasionally.
no! Once I'm done.
Once I've had a
I'm-
sip of
yeah.
alcohol, it's
Yeah.
over.
I've worked out by like after day drinking by accident, and it's fun.
Dude,
It is
lifting
it.
weights drunk is so fun.
It's really fun.
That fucking rules, man. I, love that
because a
shit.
little bit of it is like, it's like a little bit of an analgesic, and so you're like lifting dangerous amounts of weight because you're like, this is easy. Like, I got this. Like benching with no spotter, like I'll be fine. It is fun. I don't recommend it. I think it's probably dangerous.
It is probably dangerous. Yeah, like a lot of the clients that I have, like the handyman jobs, they'll be like, so I have these like old stoners that I work for. There's like a pocket of like old hippies that have referred me to each other. And then there's like just regular drinkers. And like usually when I'm working, they'll come home from work and they'll be like, we're making cocktails. You want a cocktail? Can we smoke you out? And I'm like, hit me up like a half hour. Like when I'm starting to pack up my tools, like let me like hang with you for
Right.
a minute. But like they want to like give me drinks while I'm working. And I'm like, this wall is going to be way off. It's like,
Dude, yeah, I used to, when I had the moving company, people would like offer me fucking drinks at the beginning of a job. And it's
Right.
like, I'm about to like move all of your shit.
yeah. And then
Like,
drive
you're-
it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they would drive, sometimes I would drive, but they didn't fucking care. Like the kind of people that would offer me like drinks didn't care.
Did you turn them down?
Oh no, I drank them. Yeah. I did a great job too. I was
Yeah.
fucking
What was
Excellent
it? 2
mover.
reliable guys?
cool, reliable dudes.
Cool, reliable
Oh
dudes.
my.
I love that.
Yeah. Isaac, did you ever work with us?
No. I knew that you used to do it. I did not know the name of your group either. Like,
Yeah, cool, reliable dudes.
That's really
Fucking
good.
#1 rated company in New Orleans.
On what? On was it?
Movinghelp.com.
On
It's like the
movinghelp.com.
U-Haul website where you like if you
Yeah,
rent a
yeah.
truck, they're like, you can't pack this truck. You should get someone else to do it.
You got like all that U-Haul business just funneled right into your
Yeah, but
open
they
mouth.
took like a huge fucking cut.
Oh really?
Yeah.
How much of a cut?
Like 15 or 20%, and they don't do anything except have a website.
Right. Yeah, having a website and then charging people to do stuff on it is the way to go.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
so smart. U-Haul is such a shitty fucking company.
Yeah.
And so like they just give people trucks they can't drive that don't work
Holy
and then
shit,
have a
dude.
website where they take money from the people doing the labor and they make so fucking much.
When I drove a U-Haul cross country to move back here, and it didn't have cruise control, and I was like, that sucks. And then I was doing, I don't know, like maybe 70, and I had to pass somebody very quickly in order to not die, and I floored it, and it does not go above 70. Like it's artificially limited. So I
Yeah,
just
it's
like
got a regulator on it.
yeah.
Fuck.
But so that was a problem. Like that's just a safety issue. But it was nice to be able to just floor it all the way. And that's my cruise control. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm doing 70. That's literally what I did for
Right.
12 hours. Yeah.
That had to be fun, man.
It was fun.
Yeah, people can't drive those things though.
I
Yeah.
certainly can't.
Yeah, when we got ours, we had the like 18-footer, but then also bought the trailer so we could haul a car, and I was terrified.
It's so
And we
fucking
drove all
hard
the
to
way
drive.
from
Yeah.
Ohio, so it was like a 18-hour drive down here, and I was so nervous the whole time, and like the control, like also people don't care that you have all this big shit, and I guess that like truckers have to deal with it all the time.
Well, they just
Like-
want to get away from you, so they'll pass you constantly
Yeah.
because they're like,
Yeah.
fuck this, I'm not being by.
Yeah, but
Which
they
is
pass
kinda
you and then
smart.
get right in front of you and then slow down again, and then you're like, it's hard to break those things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I avoid moving trucks like the plague. If I see them on the road, I'm like, I get as far away from it. Like I treat them like I treat student driver vehicles. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's one giant blind spot. Like
Right.
you can't see it all, so yeah, it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, you might have worn
And odds are
the
you
wrong
have
shirt
so
for a
much
podcast.
like else on your mind too because you're moving.
Yeah.
You just like lifted a bunch of shit.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're leaving all
driving,
your
like,
friends.
halfway across country, and
'Cause
all
you
you're
got
thinking is, like, is
divorced
this
or
a-
whatever.
yeah.
You're blinded by tears and the trailer itself. Yeah. Not good to drive a U-Haul. I don't know why I said that in like an Asian accent at first.
That wasn't an Asian accent, dude.
Not
No,
good.
this is an Asian accent.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, we are rolling.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I fucking hate that. Like, welcome to,
Yeah.
It's not good.
Wait, does this have a name?
No pods, no casters.
No pods, no casters.
Yeah.
Like no gods, no masters. Does
Yeah.
that make sense to you? It does.
Yeah.
It does not make sense to everyone that I tell it
Yeah.
to.
It's a niche
Yeah.
group that will get our just the cool people will get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, we'll change the name once we get like 10 followers. This fucking sucks,
Yeah, we'll be
dude.
like, let's go back to what was the first one? Send news.
Send news or
Yeah.
snitching.
Snitch.
Or,
Oh yeah, snitching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna call it that.
That's just because we ended up just talking shit about all of our friends.
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
it.
we
I looked at
recorded,
you
like,
like,
a
I was
te-
talking about you.
We
but I
recorded a test one, and it was so unusable because it was just like people's names.
We were like
and actual
identifying
stories
people who
about
sold
that.
us drugs and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's great.
Yeah. It was
Yeah, crimes for sure. Like talking about.
So speaking of awkward artificial intros, should we intro our guest?
Yeah, do that.
So this is Isaac Kozell. Is that how you pronounce it? Here in his capacity as former child preacher.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I started out as a kid and then became an adult preacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Crazy how that works.
yeah. So you were the womb to pulpit pipeline, just straight from the beginning.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how? So what was the denomination?
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay. And was it any specific sect, or is it?
I mean, it's just Jehovah's Witnesses, which is like a spinoff of the like early Adventists from the 1800s. And then they became the International Bible Students, and then a real maniac came in and took over the religion and made them Jehovah's Witnesses, like in the like 1918, 1920, somewhere around there.
How many people were in your congregation?
My congregation was kind of small. I think we had, so they call, if you are active, which means you go out and do like the door-to-door stuff,
Right, yeah.
you're a publisher. And they keep records on you. So once you start like your record as a publisher, that's how they count members.
Okay.
So active members, we had maybe 70, 75 publishers.
And where was this?
This was Moundsville, West Virginia,
Moundsville,
where I
West-
started, yeah.
Okay. And did you continue to preach elsewhere? Did it move?
So I stayed in Moundsville and then like gradually moved to a couple other congregations in the region. And then when I moved to Louisiana, that's when I was on my way out.
Okay.
And so like kind of stopped going. But it's all like, there would be a congregation within like every half hour.
Right.
Drive, So we had like this whole group of like tri-state area where it was like West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio. That was like our circuit.
So it's like AA commitments kind of where you just like, you send speakers to other congregations and they send you speakers kind of thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Wait,
yeah.
didn't you
Yeah.
just move to Louisiana like 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you stopped way before then.
So I was on my way out, but like the big move was getting out of the area because at that point I was like 30, 31, 32, somewhere in there, and like had been traveling all over, well known all over the Rust Belt area. And so, and then my ex-wife's family all in, my family all in. So like the area that we lived in, we couldn't do anything outside of the church or anything you weren't supposed to do without somebody like calling it out or noticing.
Oh, okay.
So
Fucking witnessing some shit.
Yeah, really. And like, and also there's like a big snitch culture. So like we had.
I mean,
to,
it's
like,
called witness.
yeah, totally.
God
So
snitches.
that was our big move. Like we were slowly fading out, and we actually hopped. One of the reasons we changed congregations toward the end of our tenure up north was just to go, hey, we're moving to your congregation, but we're not going to be super active because we're getting ready to move somewhere. And that bought us some time and a little space. And then we ended up in Louisiana and went to one meeting in Louisiana so that we could get our records transferred. And then we never went again. Yeah.
Interesting. So what kind of records get transferred in this process?
It's your whole life in the church. So from the moment you're in, so for me and her, we were both born in. So they had everything we'd ever done in our lives, like good and bad, which is kind of crazy.
Whoa,
like
so they keep like a naughty list or
yeah,
list
totally.
of,
Yeah, they keep track of how many magazines you've ever placed, how many people you've brought to the church, how many Bible studies, the hours you've put into the ministry, but then also anytime you get in trouble, that goes in the file.
It goes on your permanent record.
Yeah,
Like the heavy petting
absolutely.
incident?
Yeah, heavy petting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good
That went on your
Yeah,
record.
that was on there.
It's a real thing.
You have
Yeah.
is it a bit that you do? The heavy petting bit?
No. It's just a thing that happened
That everyone knows about
I don't
you?
think
No.
I've just talked about it before. Like
We talked about it in the car
okay.
on the way to a show once.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because we were just talking about like sexuality and like like being kids and stuff. But yeah, I got in trouble for heavy petting, which is just like mutual masturbation.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that kind of stuff. Everything. Got in trouble for going.
How old
to
were
see-
you when you got in trouble for that?
Like 17, 18, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. We got in trouble for going to see The Birdcage because it was an R-rated gay movie. Yeah.
What
And
good
also-
taste.
And here's the funny thing: it was me and 3 other dudes, and we were big Robin Williams fans,
Yeah.
and we were like,
God
let's go
bless.
see The Birdcage, and somebody saw us walking in at like the Megaplex, and they were going to see,
And you were like, this isn't Saving Private Ryan? Oh.
No, but we weren't allowed to see that either because
Really?
it was R. Yeah, any R-rated movies you
okay.
weren't supposed to see.
But they didn't okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it was an R-rated movie, but also a gay one. And like,
Right.
I remember getting like all 4 of us. We got called into the back room. We went and saw it on a Friday night. Sunday morning, the elders approached all 4 of us. Hey, can
The elders,
can we
Jesus
talk to you guys?
Christ.
Yeah, no,
No.
can we talk to you guys for a minute? And we're like, what's going on? Like, we went back and they were like, so somebody saw you guys going into a movie this weekend. What did you see? And we were like, we were just trying to think of what was like PG-13.
Mulholland
you know?
Drive.
Yeah, no, we were just like, yeah, it was, yeah, or like it was like Austin Powers or something. And they were like, no, that's not the movie that they said they saw you going into. And we were like, man. And it was The Birdcage. And they knew. They always do that. They try to get you to confess
Wait,
first.
I haven't seen. I don't know The Birdcage.
Oh, it's so good. It's Nathan Lane and Robin Williams have a son who's straight, and they're trying to act like, and I haven't seen it in years, but Nathan Lane and Robin Williams are trying to act like a straight couple while Nathan Lane is in drag, right?
Yeah.
To the girl's parents because they're getting married, and
Yeah.
it's fucking amazing because they run like a cabaret, like a gay cabaret.
So this isn't
sounds
Mrs.
awesome.
Doubtfire.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's
like,
so funny, and also it's just that the plot's so funny because they cannot hide their flamboyance at all,
Right.
And so it's just them stumbling over being super queer the whole time. And like, yeah, it's a very funny movie.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that sounds great.
It's hilarious.
I want to
and-
watch it right now.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, how come I haven't seen that in years?
Yeah, and we were comedy fans even back then, and we went to see it and got in trouble for it. So that's probably on the record. Also, big red flag. You know, it's like any interest in anything counterculture.
Oh, yeah.
queer, yeah.
Oh, speaking of counterculture, so you are a skater, is that right? Mm-hmm. And what?
Nothing. Keep going.
What? You don't like my segues?
It was just the narkest fucking.
No, it's not narky. It's just
Speaking
funny
of
that skating-
counterculture, you ride skateboards.
No, I was a skater too. Not anymore. I hurt the shit out of myself. But how long? Like, well, how old were you when you started skating, and how much did that inform your like resistance to the faith stuff?
Oh, that's a great question. Because I started as a kid, and
Fuck you,
this is
Benjamin.
also funny too. Because so I recently treated myself to a replica board that I had when I was a kid. It was like the Santa Cruz Screaming Hand board. I had it when I was young.
Yeah.
I loved it so much, and so I got that as a cruiser recently. And then I was talking to one of my buddies about old boards, and I had a Natus Kappas board. If
Okay.
you remember that. Natus Kappas was like also a skater for Santa Cruz, but Natus was reverse of Satan, like if you turn it backwards. And so I brought that board home and immediately got in trouble, and I had to trade it for a real lame ass Tony Hawk board. And even in like, this is like 88, and even then Tony Hawk was lame. So it was I had to trade it for like a crappy board, one of my friends. But it really did. And then like punk rock and, just anything, like kind of like breaking the law, skating where you're not supposed to.
Totally.
All that stuff. Like, I liked the rebelliousness of it because it was harmless rebellion.
Yeah.
But also it was tied to, excess and, all the skate videos. It was like dudes older than me getting drunk and, doing crazy stuff, like early, like Big Brother Jackass stuff.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a once you start to see the arbitrariness of like some laws, it's like what else is bullshit, Yeah, I remember that. That was a good feeling.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm definitely not like punk rock or whatever, but I think that looseness, like, just there's stuff that you should care about and you shouldn't. It's like certain laws are just kind of bullshit. It's just like, I'll just do this. Like, it's not going to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I operate now.
So what was that like for you internally, being like a 15-year-old kid skateboarding, like watching videos of people like getting fucked up and like puking, like skate videos and shit, and then going out like maybe that night and like preaching to people?
So at that time, I was still like a really strong believer in the truth, which is like their brand for, like, they say we have the truth. It's like
Strong brand, man.
It is. It's two capital T's. It's the truth. Like, that is like trademark for them. And so I think the hard thing for me was like, I knew what I wanted to do also as a teenager, so I'm going to like fuck around and do stuff. But the guilt was terrible. So I just was like, every time I do something bad, I would try to do something extra to balance it out, So I'd be like, all right, I'm going to like comment more at the public discussion at the meeting, or help one of the old friends in the hall, or, spend an extra couple hours on Saturday delivering magazines, because I was trying to balance out, like, karmically somehow the bad stuff I was doing as a kid with the good stuff I'm supposed to be doing.
I mean, and if they're keeping a tally too, that makes sense. If they're like, you did a good, you
But
did
even
a
the
bad,
things they didn't
like,
know about.
So
even they didn't know about, because I really thought God was watching me all the time. So God and the devil were always watching me, and I was making the devil happy when I would like spray paint a bridge, or like hang onto the back of somebody's bumper and cruise through town like Michael J. Fox or whatever. Like, that was bad. And so then I try to balance it out. Like, even if I didn't get caught, it's like I'd try to balance it out with doing good stuff. But the thing was, like, we even taught that that's not how it works.
Right.
But that was like the best I could do.
I like the idea that the rap sheet has like all the specifics, like Michael J. Fox or like the birdcage. So was your rap sheet like exemplary, like super above and beyond, and then like also terrible?
It was opposite ends. Like, the bookends were like really does really great public talks, works real hard on the maintenance crew, cleaning up the property, always willing to help, but then also got caught smoking weed, got caught smoking clove cigarettes, fingered a girl.
Were you doing these things with other Jehovah's Witnesses, or were they with secular people?
Yeah, it was always other Jehovah's Witnesses, because we're not supposed to hang out with worldly kids.
Where do they get the weed?
Well, we would get it from
Their
like, school
parents.
and stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah, because y'all went to school.
We went to public school.
We went to public school. I always
Yeah.
just assumed that you were homeschooled for no reason.
Yeah.
I just because
Not that you have a personality disorder or anything.
No. Not like you're someone that we know who's bad like that. But I just think that I just think of. I know it was such an immersive part of the culture that I just forget that you were like still in a secular world the entire time.
Do kids
Yeah.
clown on you for it?
Yeah, totally. Especially because we didn't have holidays or birthdays or anything. So especially like in grade school, that was really tough because if there was we would do like a Halloween, you decorate the classroom, so everybody's cutting like pumpkins out of construction paper and stuff.
You couldn't
I would have to
participate,
leave
yeah.
and just sit in the principal's office like I was in trouble.
I'm
Holy
the person
shit.
they sit with now.
Really?
Yeah.
When they have like a difference
There's
in
there's kids that can't participate in Halloween.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And to give my parents credit, like they were very aware of what that might be like for me. So like around Christmas time, like they always were like, hey, Family Day is coming up. And Family Day was in February, not close to Christmas, but close enough where I would still like in the winter get like presents and new clothes and stuff like that. And they would wrap them and put them up like, so it was kind of like I had like the holiday feel. But
Family clause.
yeah, I mean, it was,
It's the same shit.
Yeah, Jehovah man, put these here. It was kind of nice though because they were really trying to make it, okay. I remember for Halloween, like in kindergarten, everybody dressed up, and like I wasn't allowed to go to kindergarten that day because they were going to go around like trick or treat and stuff. And so my mom talked to my teacher and said, hey, all the kids love clowns. That's a fun way to dress up. So in kindergarten, we had a clown day that all the kids loved doing. And it was just because my mom wanted to have a day for me where I could like dress up with all the other kids.
That's
so like,
nice.
yeah, they really tried hard.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, that was a few times a year. And then every day kids were just constantly teasing me and making fun of me and stuff, for like being, have a weird religion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, people have pointed this out so many times, but it, like trying to get around bylaws in religion with like loopholes is so funny.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Clown day.
Yeah, clown day.
Yeah, clown day. You can't have holidays, but clown day is totally fine.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
So, how do you where do you start when you tell the story? If someone's like, tell me about that, like, where do you start?
About what? Just the whole thing?
Yeah, or maybe specifically in the capacity of like speaking and like being a preacher, testifying, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's like when I say I used to be a pastor, people are like, whoa, what? And that's like where it goes.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the whole religion, it grooms you to be like to just excel. It's kind of like a pyramid scheme or like any like kind of shitty small corporation where it's like, the next step is this, and you're an exemplary employee, but we want you to work on these points, and then you can get to this. It's like everything is like a privilege that you haven't achieved yet. So it's mostly for young men. Like women are pretty much subjugated in that religion. Like they don't speak alone on stage. There's no like women pastors or anything, and it's very kind of like old school. Like the husband's the head of the house, all that. But you're really trained to be a good husband, a good father, breadwinner, and then a preacher. So
it's like an everybody thing.
It's just all the men. You kind of just as a man, you're just told like this is the one path for men until Armageddon comes, and then hopefully you're
then
a
you
good
can
man.
work at a bank.
How do they reconcile the fact that women have to work out of like economic necessity? Like,
They're allowed to work. Yeah, absolutely.
They just so if it's not a problem if a woman makes more than her husband, as long as she like still does all the other stuff too.
Yeah,
right?
and I think that in like when I grew up, it was much more old school nuclear family. Husband goes to work, wife cooks breakfast, irons clothes, has dinner ready, all that.
Right.
Now, especially in like more like metropolitan areas, and especially in like Europe and other countries, like more developed countries, that is breaking up a little bit, where it's not as odd for a woman to go to work and the husband stays home and take care of the kids. But where I grew up, was still so backwards, where a lot of people even in the community still subscribe to that. You know, like the man brings home the bread,
Right.
like all that. And so like we were very influenced by that, and to the point where, you know, even when I was married, things were really hard on my wife because she was an individual and had opinions and dressed certain ways and things like that.
And she's an wait, what is she?
Historian.
Oh,
Yeah,
historian.
like historic preservationist.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because like they would pull me aside and give me little lectures like, you gotta get your wife in line, that skirt's a little
Jesus
short,
Christ.
or she's showing cleavage, and I'm like, I think she looks fine, and you're a weirdo for looking at her and saying that. You know?
Yeah,
It's like,
stop checking out my wife, you freak.
Yeah, it was very weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that had to be fucking hard.
Yeah, it really was. And I think that like the relief of getting away from that. I remember waking up on Sunday mornings after we stopped going so regularly. If you woke up on a Sunday and didn't have to go, this was a big sign for me. I would just wake up and go, I'm not going to church today, and I feel so happy about it. Like it made me feel good. I felt like I had a day, and like there was years where I just dreaded it. Like when I was kind of ideologically on my way out.
Right.
It was just it was torture.
How long were the services?
Usually about an hour and a half. And when I grew up, we
Okay.
had 3 a week, and then they cut it down to 2 a week.
How did those services affect your mindset for the rest of the day?
So Sunday was always Sunday morning, like a regular church for everyone. I hated that because, like, actually I hated both. So it was always like we had Sunday morning was regular service. You would have a preacher do a 45-minute sermon, and then the Watchtower magazine that we would pass out, they had question and answer sections, and so there'd be a group Watchtower study. And it was a bummer because you had to get up so early.
Yeah.
So like Saturday nights could never be fun, and you got to get up really early and go to church, and then it eats up half your day, and you're supposed to go out in the ministry after that. So like Sunday was kind of a wash.
Right.
The other ones were on Thursday nights, and that's the one where they would train you for the ministry. So it was a bunch of little like vignette sections where they do demonstrations, how to talk to people, how to defend our like version of the Bible to people who say, hey, that's not right. And there's like, a lot of circular logic and all that. That one sucked because like, you work all day, you go to school all day, and you immediately just come home, get dressed, and go to church until 9:30 at night. Like, so that's your whole day.
You probably had to like look good. It seems like one of those kind of.
Oh no, it's suits. Yeah, dresses, suits and ties. Yeah, that was another thing too.
Yeah, that like weird like perfection culture they have, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what is a Jehovah's Witness? Like, what do they believe, basically?
So they like Christ is our savior, and Jehovah is his father. And so it's like some of it's fairly like at the base level we had so much in common with other Christian religions, but we would take things and then try to turn it into our own prophecy to prove that Armageddon was coming. I think that was the biggest difference. So like Armageddon was always coming. And then if something crazy happened in the news, they'd go to some scripture in Revelation or Isaiah, and then every few years update it and be like, this thing that just happened, that's what it was talking about.
Right.
And then Armageddon wouldn't come. And
Do you have any like specific examples of historical events like where they like this OJ shit is straight out of the Bible?
A big one was when George Bush talked about the New World Order. Which was more of a global politics thing. He just used the expression New World Order.
Yeah,
but we talked
they love
about
it
He
when-
probably wasn't supposed to say that.
Yeah, they were probably like, ooh.
right. Yeah. Well, but we latched onto that because we always had the hope of the new world, because Armageddon was going to come and destroy everything bad, and then we would, if you survived Armageddon, you would just kind of walk into paradise, because the whole idea is that God wanted Earth to be a paradise and perfect, and that's why Adam and Eve were created in the Garden of Eden. The whole Earth was supposed to be Garden of Eden, right? Then Satan came in, tricked everybody, it got shitty, and he's just letting Satan for, 2,000 years just kind of mess with everyone, see if we can get it, back to paradise. We can't. So many people are going to follow the devil. The ones who don't want to, God's going to bring paradise back after Armageddon. So that was the whole plan.
This sounds feasible.
It sounds pretty compelling. Like as a myth.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's very nice. Like the way we would get people interested is like, you would just be like the Watchtower would say, will you ever see your dead loved ones again? Would be like the cover of the Watchtower.
Right.
That's the magazine you guys pass out.
Yeah. So like you would go to somebody and say, hey, we've all lost somebody. Have you ever wondered, will you ever see them again? Yeah, I want to see them in heaven. It's all very emotional based. It's how you would like get people in. Yeah. And you get them in on like that commonality of like, or the big one was, will things get worse in our lifetime? So you would say like, and people were like, yeah, I feel like the world's going in a real bad direction. We'd be like, we have a great answer for you. Right. It's going to get better. And you can find out how with us.
Yeah. I also like the idea of like,
I'll tell you what, if you can shut off a part of your mind that's like rational and you can deal with like some of the politics that are involved, like it does give people hope. That's why like my family and friends that are still in, I understand why they're in. Yeah. Because things do suck. And I had moments of like mental breakdown when I realized it wasn't true, but didn't have anything else to believe in. I was like, oh, everybody's terrible. The world sucks. But now I don't even have a chance of being like in paradise. It's just, it's gonna be
that's Judaism. It's so fun. Like there's like a 5,000-year-old religion that's like, oh yeah, it doesn't get better.
That does make it the most. That does make it the most compelling of religions. That there's no promise. There's no promise or punishment. That's why I think that
it's just like confusing stories.
It's really
that's
confusing.
All it is. It's crazy.
But at least it roots
dudes
people.
who write in the margins of books. Sorry, what?
I just think I just love the fact that there is a religion that exists that like most of the practitioners of it aren't like, if you don't follow us, you're going to go to hell. Right. They're just like, yeah, we are really into community and these traditions. Don't ask too many questions.
Yeah. Right. And there's like a million versions of it. Like there's with everything.
There's like, there are Jewish people that have like really retrograde views too. But anyway, I just think like the thing about religion that makes me be like, of course this isn't true, is the fact that they're blackmailing you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Extortion. Yeah. Behavioral extortion or something.
Yeah. And I still subscribe to a lot of like...
I don't really know what blackmail is, but it's like something, you know what I mean? It's being like, if you don't do this, then this bad thing's going to happen.
Well, it's emotional blackmail.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really plays with like all of your hopes and fears and the biggest questions you have in life. If that's how people control you, by like, we have the answers to the biggest questions. And that's why I always say it's a cult. And people are like, well, I don't know if it's a cult, because people jump to like, Jim Jones and Manson and stuff like that. They're like, those are cults. And I'm like, well, if you look at the criteria for a cult, it's usually a very niche beliff system.
Charismatic leader.
Yeah, charismatic leader or leaders, mostly male, usually male.
Internal policing,
shutting off from the outside world. So if your friends, family, neighbors are not a part, then it's us versus them. Isolationism, risk reward scenarios, like it's all that stuff. Yeah. And like Jehovah's Witnesses check off. I think I forget who did it, but somebody did like a study on cults, and then they had like a list of 10 things. I think we checked off like 7 of them. And I'm like, yeah, that's very cultish behavior.
Also, can you speak to when you did leave and they showed up at your house in Louisiana? That's extremely cult-like, right?
Yeah, that was very weird. That's where it got kind of scary, because like back home, I knew that people would kind of be watching me and policing behavior and all that, and wondering why I wasn't going as much or why I stepped down from being a pastor. Like, it raised a lot of questions. But moving away, I thought that would be the break. Because what happens is when you stop going, you're just listed as inactive. And then once a year, they'll usually give you like a letter or a phone call, and they'll show you like, oh, here's the local church. This is when we have meetings, or they have a big thing every spring, like around Easter time, where they celebrate the memorial of Christ's death, where it's like the last night he spent with his apostles right before he was, they don't say crucified because they don't like the cross. So he was just hung on a stake.
Oh, they don't like the cross.
Yeah,
interesting.
They don't like the cross, yeah. They say he just hung on a stake.
Splitting hairs, like...
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that.
They're kind of like hipsters. They're just like, no Christmas, no cross. They're just like, that's too boring and hackneyed or whatever. Yeah.
And really, I mean, once something gets in there, it really sticks, and they'll just defend it for, decades. And... So, but yeah, I think like moving down here, I was like, well, we're clear, right? And maybe there'll be a phone call or something. And so we got some phone calls and we ignored them. And then one day we lived on a private property on a historic plantation, and we got a phone call from the front office where you check in for tours and stuff. And it was like, hey, there's these 2 guys here asking to see you. And we're like, well, who are they? and they were like, they said they're friends of yours from the local church, and we knew immediately. And so, like, me and my ex-wife, we were like,
They came disguised as Quakers.
yeah, I mean, and we were just like, tell them that we're not here, we're not busy, or that we're busy. And then so the people at the gift shop, they said, yeah, they can't meet you right now. And those guys were like, which house on the property do they live in? Can we go and like see their house and all that? Which it is private. You're not even supposed to access it without paying for the tour and all that.
Right.
And so that freaked out the people that were working there, and they asked them to leave. And they're like, please leave. It was kind of weird because it's like our house was tucked away. We were kind of out in the country, and it felt like there was a sense of like security there. And for somebody to come out there, ask to see our home, which is like kind of crazy. Like, which house do they live in? Because at that point, I'm like, oh, they're going to start watching us, you know?
Yeah, that's super creepy.
Do they?
Yeah, someone had to get on a fucking plane, right?
Yeah. Someone had to
They
come.
probably called out some locals.
Oh, no. They were locals. They were from like a congregation like 20, 30 minutes away.
That almost makes it creepier, though. Like,
Yeah, they're
the
like,
fact
we got
that
tentacles everywhere.
Yeah.
Network, yeah. Do they ever use your permanent record? What's it called?
The publisher record.
The publisher record. Do they ever use the negative shit against people who leave, or is that like beyond the pale?
So it has happened. It's never. They don't release that stuff publicly in an attempt to get somebody back. It doesn't like that would be more like blackmail.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's
I
some
want to see
Scientology
fucking Prince's rap sheet.
Oh my God.
Like whatever.
Prince is a whole nother thing because this is what's kind of fucked up. They are a corporation. So Prince gave them so much money that they're just like, Prince, you just kind of be a little crazy. Like, there's stuff that Prince was doing. I mean, even like his
He was
death.
Prince. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the opposite of everything.
They were like, just keep hating gay people. And
Same thing
you're
with
in.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
They did it with Michael Jackson too. It was like, you know,
Wait, Michael Jackson was a Jehovah's Witness?
yeah,
Everyone's a Jehovah's
the whole Jackson family.
I'm a
was.
Jehovah's Witness.
Are you? A lot of people I work
My
with are
brother.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
a popular.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, the celebrity thing is completely different because you can get like a little bit of leeway if you're donating, which is, you know,
No
also,
shit.
also like not a good look for the church. Like, it's like everybody else has to be like so straight and narrow, and then it's like, oh, you can like fuck
You
your
sexy
dick guitar,
motherfucker.
Right, exactly.
like, you know.
Because it seems like they were rejecting more so than other Christian religions, like the whole prosperity gospel. Because a lot of Christianity has like really taken to capitalism, and like they have taken to not helping the poor, and somehow been like that is the right thing. But it seems like Jehovah's Witnesses, and they don't like Christmas and holidays. I'm assuming because they're just like, I don't know why, but I just assumed it was some sort of rejection of that kind of like.
That's one of the
greedy-
reasons for sure. It was that it's just like a big money making thing. But the other part is that like Christmas, Halloween, things like that have roots in paganism.
Okay.
So
Right,
yeah.
totally.
So it was like it gets
Like-
very close to like, you know, you're getting closer to Satan.
Right.
The more that you engage in anything that other religions had kind of built.
What's their conception of Satan? Is it like a dude that walks around? Because there's like Southern
Like
Baptists
Agent
that
Smith.
like think that, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, so I think this is pretty common for a lot of Christian religions. Satan was originally an angel, like Jesus' brother in heaven, basically.
Yeah, that's canon.
Created by Jehovah. He defied Jehovah, and Jehovah kicked him out of heaven and sent him down to earth. He came down to earth, corrupted Adam and Eve. And then the deal that he made with Jehovah was that I can turn all of your servants away from you. And Jehovah said, no, you can't. And so now, as a Jehovah's
It's a
Witness...
pissing contest.
Yeah.
It is a pissing
Yeah.
contest. And it
And
always
God's
really pissed me
losing,
off.
right? Like-
No, he's winning because, I mean, at least for Jehovah's Witnesses, there are 7.5 million who are really showing that the devil hasn't got them.
but there's
and
so many more people than that.
I know, but it doesn't matter. They're all going to die. Like, that's really,
Yeah, they're all gonna go to hell.
that's how we looked at it.
Yeah. So, but I mean,
Yeah,
numbers wise,
No,
makes no
7% of 7 billion is not that much, but when you kill everyone, then 7. I'm sorry, yeah.
Is it 1%, right? Is it 1%?
Well,
It's 10. Wait, no.
Sorry, 7 million out of 7 billion. It's 1,000th, I think.
there have been roughly.
But the point is that it's going to be
105
100%.
billion people who have like been on Earth
Hmm?
before. So like the math there is.
Oh, it is crazy. Also,
Yeah.
yeah, because that was one of my big
Staggering.
questions. I was like, wait, So we're out there preaching and trying to recruit people to the truth, but like, what about the people who never had an opportunity to learn about it?
Yeah.
And the answer was always like, well, God can see the good in them if they never had the opportunity. Well, I'm like, well, then why doesn't God see the good in people who maybe I just was in a bad mood when I handed them a watchtower? And they were like, get off my porch, this is bullshit. Like, we look at them as they're going to die because they didn't listen to us, but like maybe God saw something in them. They're like, no, they were probably assholes because they live now and they know who witnesses are and they should be with us. It was like, it was really fucked up.
So there's like a little bit, there's just like a tiny bit of Calvinism in there where it's like it's your destiny.
Yeah, in a
Is
lot of ways.
Calvinism the people that only believe 400 people go to heaven?
I don't think it's 400, but it's like the elect and the reprobates. Like you are born
Destined.
to go to heaven or hell.
So God, that's so fucking
It's like
depressing.
entirely deterministic, like everything.
So it's like they just say that the only motivation to be good is because it's the right thing to do, and because if you are one of the chosen ones, you can fuck it up.
I don't know if you can fuck it up.
Okay, well
It's
then what
so
the
hard.
fuck?
Yeah,
then
see,
why
we
would I
always
do
had that
anything?
too. Yeah. We had that too because our number was 144,000. So 144,000 people.
That's so few.
It's one number.
so funny.
It's mentioned in Revelation, and it says that, and also Revelation is just a big acid trip.
That was
of
just
a
as
book. So
Right,
high
but
as
they
they
didn't
could
have any.
count.
Yes.
back then.
Exactly. They were like, there's never gonna.
they didn't have a
ours.
million yet,
Yeah.
so like it was
Yeah.
144,000. But there's going to be 144,000 kings and priests and judges. They will.
That's
they
like
will,
a big college. Like that's like.
like a small city. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the University of Texas.
Yeah.
And that's throughout all of history. But everybody else's hope was to be in paradise. So like there was heaven and earth. So like
Do you stop aging once Armageddon comes?
Armageddon will age you, but the whole I mean it's going to.
You'll get some
will
crow's
it?
feet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough weekend, but I think what would really happen, what everybody thought, is that whatever the prime of life is, and we only know that like in modern terms, but we always thought that everybody would look about 28, 29, 30.
All right, I'm in the
you'd
prime
be
of my
an
life.
adult. Yeah, it would basically be like us.
sad.
I'm so
Like,
glad they weren't like, well, for dudes, it's like 35. But
For ladies,
chicks,
it's 19.
11.
That was weird, though. Yeah. Man. Yeah. In Paradise, the age of consent is 10.
It's just whenever you bleed. Yeah.
Yeah.
or it's like 100,000, like you live
Yeah.
fucking forever.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
but you can't fuck for 100,000 years.
Yeah. Man, it sounded, one of the things, when I really have especially through therapy, I've gone back through all my beliefs and it's made me think about moments where I realized maybe it was bullshit, but pushed through it.
Yeah.
And one of the first ones I had, I remember being 12 years old, and one of my best friends in the church was a real troublemaker. Mental problems, kind of an evil kid, tortured animals, and ended up being a meth head and shit. But I remember his mom telling him after he'd done something bad, "You're not going to make it to paradise. Don't you want to live forever with your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters?" And he's like, living forever sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a 10
He
or
was
11-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd never heard anybody say that because I was just told what you should want to do is live forever.
Right.
And that hit me. I was like, yeah, dude, what are we going to do forever?
Yeah. I'm going to go
that
kill a
sounds
cat like this little
terrible.
second.
At a certain point, you got to kill a cat.
And then as I got older, I thought, when I make it to paradise, I'm going to kind of have it in the back of my mind where if this gets boring, I'm going to do something real bad. Like, I'm going to, fuck a dog and just kick it out. Just because, I don't want, you know what I mean? I'll do something.
Yeah.
Just to, be in trouble. I'll
Some
get
shit.
out of here.
man.
Did you want to fuck a dog or?
No, I just thought it was one of the worst things you could do, a
Yeah,
dog
that
or a
is
monkey or something. Well, that's the other
absolutely.
thing too. I didn't have pets as a kid, and in paradise, all the animals are going to be nice, and you can have whatever you want. So we used to have
That's
these.
so cool.
Yeah.
That's
Dude, this
compelling.
religion does sound actually
man.
really
Really cool.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We used to have our
Just
little tracts
a
and
whale
pamphlets.
friend.
You can
that just,
finally get the
fucks up
raccoon
sharks.
you've always
That would be
wanted.
great.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. There was there were these little all of our stuff when I was growing up was these paintings on the tracks and everything. Yeah, please, I'll take one. So we had these paintings on the cover of the tract. One of them was called "You Can Live Forever on Paradise Earth," and the cover was just a bunch of multicultural families, all in. They look like Best Buy employees. It's
Dude,
like
that's
polo
so
shirts and
fucking
khakis.
90s.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
that's like marketing like across the board from
Yeah.
like Jehovah's Witnesses to like Target
Yeah.
or whatever.
And I just remember there was one. There was like a guy carrying a wheelbarrow, and then there was just a panda chilling out next to it. And I was like, "Oh, you can just like hang with pandas. There's like lions like
Dude.
on their backs, and snakes are like around
Sounds like
the
it
lions."
sounds like the cover of a highlights magazine.
It does look. That was the type of art.
Yeah, yeah.
The style of art was very much like that, and
I mean, there were probably only like a few graphic designers really getting work. Like,
Yeah.
But it was the same dude.
yeah. Well, that was also one of the things you could like. The big ideal vacation was going to New York and touring the Watchtower headquarters, where you saw where they printed the magazines and all that. And I remember being a kid and seeing the art department where there's like this whole room of artists that are drawing and painting like the stuff for the magazines and books. And I always thought like that would be really cool. That'd be a cool job. Go to like they called it Bethel. Like go to Bethel and work there and live there and like draw for the for the Watchtower.
Yeah, it doesn't sound bad.
Yeah.
That's definitely a cool life. So, when did you start preaching in front of people? Like, when were they like, he's ready to...
Well, the first time I was on stage was 4. I was 4 years old, and I went on stage with my dad, and we did like a little demonstration and like a Bible reading. I was like reading passages from the Bible with my dad on stage.
Early
And
reader.
then- yeah. Yeah, and then shortly after that, I started doing my own Bible readings at like 5 and 6, where you would just, go up and just open the Bible and read a passage. And then shortly after that, I started doing talks where like you'd have like 4 or 5 minutes, and you would get a theme, and the theme might be like, why does God allow pain and suffering?
So,
and
like-
then you would have to give a little speech on it.
Jesus.
Like TEDx
Yeah.
West
Oh,
Virginia.
man.
Yeah, 100%. It is. And they teach you early. And I will say that part, even though they were like anti-higher education and all that, like what I learned there, like I learned to read early. I learned public speaking early. I learned how to like create outlines and essays.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
like I learned a lot from it.
And how to, like, follow a thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To have a beginning, middle, end to make points like that. It was like a good training, but the training was only supposed to be used. to
Dude,
recruit
what
people.
the
Was
fuck
that
is
cats?
happening outside?
That's
It is
that's
the
probably
cats.
the cat with,
With
the
the bent
corkscrew tail.
Cats
Have
be
you,
fucking up front, yeah.
yeah, have you seen that cat? Its tail is fucked. Its tail is like bent and then it goes down, and it's not. It's like fucked. It
That's
got-
my hormone
those-
monster.
Yeah, it looks like one of those fun car antennas like you put on like a Volkswagen Bug. It's got like it twists and curls back.
Yeah. That makes sense. So how does your did you have more to say?
About the cats? No, I'm done.
No, about whatever the cat's interrupted. I don't remember what we were talking about.
No.
Okay. How does your experience as a preacher inform your stand-up?
It's just easy to be on stage. And I think that also it's become a compulsion where when I was leaving the religion, I really was just like, it came at the same time when I found stand-up.
Yeah.
And that filled a void for
Oh,
me.
that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why it's easy to go up multiple nights a week and be on stage. That's never bothered me.
Yeah.
And there's also something I miss about it. Like, if I have like a week or so, like I got sick earlier this year and didn't go up for 2 weeks, I was
that's
going
the worst.
insane
Oh, yeah.
because I wasn't on a stage.
It's like a drug.
Not that I feel like there's like
And
an
you had,
importance
like,
to it, or
diarrhea and lost like 40
I was like
fucking
puking and
pounds.
shitting. Yeah, I lost.
You looked
18
so
pounds.
weird
Dude,
afterwards.
it was rough. Yeah, I looked like the machinist, like Christian Bale. It was rough, but like that. I just want to be like that has become. This is gonna sound so like corny, but it's like
No.
it's like sort of home for me.
Yeah, totally.
Like going up on a stage and doing a thing.
Yeah.
Just feels natural. It's like part of a routine now.
Wait, so you were doing stand up when you were on your way out of
Yeah.
preaching, and it was in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Was there ever
Okay.
any overlap?
Yeah, there was overlap.
Interesting.
And I had started to, at that time when I started stand up, I was trying to convert to the role of like kind of looser, cooler youth pastor style.
Right,
where
right.
I was like, and I was adapting the sermons because you get, the sermons are set up for you where you have to cover so many points in 45 minutes.
Right.
And I, at that time, was starting to have a lot of doubts about some of the points that they were making. So I was like, swapping out stuff or expanding on the positive part, where more about like practical day to day. Like instead of focusing on Armageddon, it was more like here's how you could be better to your
That's a slippery
neighbors.
slope to Unitarianism, my friend. That's how you become a Unitarian Universalist.
Well, I almost did. I went through really every religion.
Oh, really?
In the years to follow,
Yeah.
I went like, what are the Christians? Because I was like, well, I'm still a Christian. I have to be a Christian because
Right.
Jesus is my savior, right?
Right.
So like, and then I was like, oh wait, Jesus was saying stuff that Greek philosophers were saying thousands of years before him, that Buddha was saying thousands of years before him. Like where did he get all that?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, Jesus wasn't that original, just kind of cool.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not Jesus. And then I went Buddha. I looked, Judaism came real quick because like we still use the Old Testament. So I was
Right.
like, maybe I'm more Jewish. And then then I went like Eastern religion, and then I went like deist. And then I went hardcore atheist, like really irritating asshole
Right.
atheist. And
Reddit.
then I
You
swung
have
back
to go.
You went
Yeah.
through
You
went through
can't not do
puberty in
that.
like a month, basically.
I really
in terms
did.
of like your not like your body, but like in terms of your mental
That'd be crazy.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really over
Your
the course of
spiritual
like
balls dropped.
How
it was
long?
like probably a 5 or 6 year period.
Oh, damn,
of, like,
never mind.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
a long time.
How long were you an annoying atheist?
I'd say a good 2 years because
Oh,
I was doing
damn.
a lot of like Richard Dawkins, Sam
Oh, yeah.
Harris. Like I was like,
Wait,
because-
isn't Sam Harris like a white supremacist, or am I getting him confused with someone else?
I think he might be more libertarian. Sam Harris is not the best dude, but like I liked his stuff on religion at the
Okay,
time.
I only know him through Twitter, and
I think
a lot
there's
of
a
his
lot of
followers.
overlap
Yeah.
between the mental masturbation bros. Who just-
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
100%.
God.
And the anti-establishment stuff, and like you're all sheep. Like that was the thing, and I was like, that's how I felt about everybody around me.
How could you not?
Yeah.
But also my mind had been blown open. I didn't know what to believe. Like I had like a couple pretty major existential crises like during that
Right.
period because I'm like, I don't know what's up and what's down.
You have much more of an excuse than just some stupid teenage boy that's like, my mom tried to make me wear my dress shoes to church
Right.
one day a year. Yeah.
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 And yeah.
So did you have a period of time where you went straight to the forbidden texts or whatever? Like,
Oh yeah, the apostate material.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's when that took a while because I still kind of thought maybe that God was watching and the devil, this was like my ultimate test.
Right.
But then I started looking at the apostate stuff,
Yeah.
and the one that got me the most, that like really helped me understand that my feelings weren't wrong, was that religion is controlled by a group of men. It's called the governing body. It's usually it's a rotating cast of 6 or 7 old men. Almost, I think there's one black guy. It's almost historically been all like old white dudes, and they
It's the
write
Supreme Court.
yeah, it is. It's very much like that. And as much
Yeah.
as they hate the way politics and everything are, they run it like the worst political structures
God.
ever. And so I remember reading a book called Crisis of Conscience, written by a former governing body member. And the reason he wrote it was because he had one idea, like really. He just had like a couple things that he just like, they would sit in these meetings. They're like, what are we going to put in the Watchtower?
Yeah.
What are we going to tell everybody to believe? And he kind of had like, I don't know if this is quite right. I feel like maybe Jesus would have wanted it this way. He wasn't like radical. He was just saying like, I kind of feel like maybe these things might, and the way they would vote is it was a 2/3 vote is what became doctrine.
Right.
And what's crazy about that is
crazy.
Yeah.
if these guys are chosen by Jehovah to tell millions of people what the truth is,
Right.
shouldn't they all just wake up and go, we got it?
Yeah.
That's
Well, it's like
why
how
would
they
you have-
elect the Pope, and then they're
Yes.
like, he's infallible, and it's like, well, who fucking voted
Yeah.
against God?
It's
Right.
so, yes, that is, it's that kind
Like,
of thing.
kill that guy, I guess.
Yeah. But his account, his book was so heartfelt, and he had so much respect for Jehovah's Witnesses, and what they put him through was terrible. Like, he went through hell, lost his entire life, lost his home, all of his friends, all his family. Also, this dude was like old as hell at the point, so he couldn't go back out into the world with no skills. He had no work skills. His whole life was just like making stuff for Jehovah's Witnesses. So he like had a real rough time with it, and the book was so sympathetic and balanced, and it showed me like, oh, there is a lot of good there, but it sucks that you can't have one or two different opinions.
Right.
And like that was the one that I read that really kind of helped me out, because there's a lot of angry apostates that are calling a lot of weird shit out, and I'm like, you guys are kind of assholes too.
Are there other texts that they warn you against, like Nietzsche or something?
All that. Well, we weren't supposed to get into philosophy at all. That's why they didn't want you to go to college.
Yeah.
Because like once you learn critical thinking and philosophy and science, because like they don't believe in evolution or anything like that. So yeah, it was like school was always like a thing you have to do.
Yeah.
You know, like by law, we have to educate you kids or else they'll take you away from us, but don't listen to what they're saying.
Interesting.
Like, yeah.
It's so crazy to me that anyone could be like, science isn't real after we harnessed electricity.
Yeah.
Like at that point, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, a great example is my dad. My dad's like, it's so interesting. He's a genius and he's one of the sweetest people I've ever known.
my dad could beat him up.
Actually, I gotta tell you, I saw your dad. My dad could stomp him, but it's okay.
No, my dad is tiny.
He's a little dude.
He's scared of everything.
But like,
Yeah, there's no way anyone who like produced Isaac is gonna lose in a fight to anyone who produced.
he's like a nephew.
or me.
Yeah. But like my dad is very interested in like the visuals of science, but he likes to look at complex things in the scientific world as proof of God's existence. Like God made these things the way they are.
Yeah.
And I remember he had this big coffee table book. And he used to like to look at it. It had like beautiful like close up pictures of like, and this was before like all of like the Discovery Channel like high def cool shit. Like this is like in the 80s,
Right.
90s, and it was just these beautiful high resolution pictures of like butterflies up close, and you saw the detail and like animals doing cool shit. But there was a section where it was an archaeological dig that showed like the remains of early man, and I remember him just like flipping past that real quick and going, Satan planted it there, basically. It was like, like the devil put bones in places so that they would trick scientists into believing that people lived before Adam and Eve 6,000
Right.
years ago or whatever. It was like that level
That's the thing about belief. Yeah. I just think that that's what belief and faith, you can't, when people are like, how do religious people believe this? It's like, because no matter what, it's just a big conspiracy. All religions are just big conspiracy theories if they depend at all on like, if they depend at all on being right or the only ones that get into paradise, then they have to be. If religions are just like, join us or not, there's no real stakes. I feel like they don't have to be like that. But
I know.
yeah.
And there's so many people where it's like, if your hope for the future and the way that you structure your morals, your relationships, the way you live is based on one thing, even if there's something wrong with that, that's where the cognitive dissonance comes in. You turn that off, like, because you don't want to deal with what would happen if the bad thing is true. Mm-hmm. So you ignore it, you shut it off, you find ways to block it or rationalize your way out of it, and then just focus on other stuff.
Right. That to me is the crux of like the conspiracy theorist is like you have a belief system and it is heartily reinforced by your community and your entire identity is wrapped up in your community. Like anything that threatens that, you will find a rationalization for, because your self is at stake.
But like, what your religious experiences? Like, I mean, like Catholic, Jew, what? Catholic. So, did you guys have anything like this? Like growing up, I think
My
you're
parents
more of,
were
like,
pretty left by the time.
culturally Jewish, but not like.
I mean, I went to temple for a while, and then like they got a new rabbi at the temple that my parents didn't like, and they were like, "Yeah, fuck this." Well, they asked me. They were like, "Do you want to keep going?" And I was like, "Fuck no."
Yeah.
Like I want to do stuff on the weekends. This shit sucks.
Yeah, my parents tried to raise me Catholic, but didn't actually want to be practicing Catholics, if that makes sense. So I would like ask my dad, like, Dad, why don't you go to church? And he's like, well, when I was a kid, I had to go to church every day, and so like I'm paid up for the rest of my life.
Well, the Catholic thing to say.
That's
I love
fucking
that.
awesome.
I had to go to church every single fucking Sunday, and my parents were real practicing Catholics. And then I stopped wanting to go, and they made me make my confirmation. I carved an anarchy symbol into my arm.
Yeah.
Ask Keegan Connell. Keegan Connell was friends with girls who knew me at Sacred Heart, and they said that they were afraid of me.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so my parents, since after the cutting, which by the way, my mom immediately was like, "You're just doing this for attention," and she was correct. But I did cut myself, and my mom did not take it seriously
That's
at all. She was
really
like, "Then
funny.
fucking kill yourself."
Jesus Christ.
My mom's hilarious. She's
that's
real
a word.
edgelord,
Yeah.
but she.
Dude, she
MD's
sounds like
mom,
my
go on
grandma.
Come Town.
No, my mom was like about the religion thing. Eventually they gave up, and then Katrina happened, and then they stopped going to church. But my parents were like really fucking religious. Then abortion started to come up, and all these other things started to come up. And one night my mom was really drunk, and she was like, I mean, if you got pregnant, I'd probably make you get rid of it. And so then it was things
That's like
got
the
iffy.
worst of both worlds.
Yeah,
It's like, I would make you get rid
yeah,
of it.
exactly. But like she was as bad and flawed as she was, really the person that she was someone who was trying to raise her daughter Catholic when it's completely ridiculous. Like, it's just completely ridiculous. Like, to be like, yeah, if you're 13 and get pregnant, because I was like having sex at 14 and there were bad signs before that. My parents had a lot to deal with me.
Yeah.
And so my mom was like, if you get pregnant, there's no fucking way my little child is going to carry a baby to term.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
But that's where a religious person, their faith is tested, where they could look at other people and go, oh, she had an abortion, what a slut. But when it happens to you, it shakes your faith, and that's when you're really tested as to like how you would act in that. And
my parents were always, my dad was always the kind of person who was like a very mealy-mouthed, but like still good-hearted person that was like, well, the Catholic Church doesn't care about taking care of kids when they're born, but they care about not having abortions. So he was like, I think they should do more to care for kids, once they're born and help them. But he still believes that abortion was bad. But they've both changed a lot. Katrina completely changed my family.
Yeah, same here.
But that's the kind of stuff that rattles people's faith, and then makes them realize what might be more important than like a higher structure of religion. It's like, oh, just day to day, like we have to take care of each other and our family and our neighbors. Like that's the core of, I think, humanity in a way. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think you need religion to just what you naturally feel towards people, of wanting to take care of people and how to do that. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and and big events like that teach you that. But people really, if you've only had religion your whole life, you don't know until you don't that you don't need religion for that.
Right. Well, also, I was gonna say what else is crazy to me about it is that like if you need religion to keep you within these parameters of just decency, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, oh, if you need that, go for it. Like, stay in.
Well, I think part of it is that they create clearly false parameters of decency, and then people are like, well, these are bullshit. So then they don't know like what is within and like away from like what they should do, but they would have a natural inclination towards like, I mean, just even as like a self-preservation method, like if you fuck people over, they'll be shitty to you.
Yeah, I mean,
that's in us.
There's a philosopher named Emmanuel Levinas, and he talks about how there's like one innate like law or like commandment, and it's like not. He calls it the face to face. It's like if you're face to face with another human being, it's like it's impossible to harm them if you encounter them in their full humanity or whatever. And so I think a lot of people are just afraid that they don't have that innate built-in reluctance to do harm when they actually do. It's just like vertigo, like they're just terrified.
Yeah, and I think, and this is probably more of a Christian thing, but the idea that you are born flawed, like you are born with sin. And so because of original sin, you are the illustration they used to tell us at church was if you have like a baking sheet, like a bread pan, and you drop it and it gets a dent in it, every loaf of bread that comes out after that is going to have that dent in it. And so that's you. You're a dented loaf
That's
of bread.
That's a great analogy.
Until,
Dented fucking loaf of bread.
No, but you're a piece of shit hunk of bread until God straightens the pan out. You can't straighten it out on your own.
Right.
You will have these. And so then that dent is whatever your thing is. And the thing might be you like booze, or you have a temper, or you're gay, or whatever.
Or you can't land
it's
a 360
always
flip.
like an imperfection that you're born with because of the devil. And the only way to get over it is through Christ's salvation. And
I don't know why I'm stuck on this, but I kind of want to go back. So when I asked like what the conception of the devil is, and then you were talking about like planting the bones, do they think the devil is like physical?
Yes.
It's cool.
A spirit. It's a spirit that can affect physical things.
Okay.
So
what's that Time Is on My Side movie? It's like there's like if you touch someone who's possessed.
Dude, I've like never seen a movie.
The Fallen. Is it Denzel Washington?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's called The Fallen.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. Go on. So
it is very much like that because they believe in possession and the power of the devil and his demons. Man, I don't know.
Wait, does Denzel get possessed?
I don't actually remember.
I think he's the guy chasing down the devil. Like he's sort of like a private investigator.
And there's like a really creepy scene where they're in like this is a great scene. It gives me chills just to think about it. So it's like Denzel Washington is confronting this demon or whatever, and like it's a crowded place, so that every time somebody bumps into the body that the demon's inhabiting, that person starts singing "Time Is on My Side," and then the other person shuts up. It's so terrifying. It's a great movie.
Also, great use of that song.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's very cool.
I want to see that.
Yeah, it changes the song. Because it's kind of like a lazy, jangly, old like rock tune, and then
Yes,
it gives it
it
this
is.
creepy vibe.
Yeah, when like 30% of your word count is yes, it is. You're like, you're phoning
God,
it
I
in.
want to listen to that song right now.
Yeah.
Also, I'm Googling Denzel Washington, anything bad? Because has he done anything bad? No, he hasn't. I just assume all male actors I haven't thought about in
Yeah.
years have.
No, I don't know how we got so off track on that. No, the devil
That would be me.
was an angel, one of God's sons, came down to earth, fucked things up, made the deal, and now he and his demons, the other angels who were like, hey, we kind of like what Satan's doing, we're going to follow him. They have dominion over the earth for a limited period of time. And so all the bad stuff that happens right now, like everything that's happened, starting with, also this is interesting, they think that the devil was thrown out of heaven in 1914, and that's why World War I happened.
Oh man.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
What did
about,
they
like,
think
He was just
everything
following-
else
Yeah.
was?
Yeah, he just came down like
they were like
a-
history was tight until World War One.
God
Like,
shot him down like one of those like
What?
bank drive-through tubes where it's like thump and honestly, like he had Archduke Franz Ferdinand killed, and that kicked off World War I. That was when the devil really took over the earth. So
Yeah.
since 1914, the devil has been doing all this crazy shit, and that's why, according to Jehovah's Witnesses, things have been worse. Now, what's funny is if you look at the history of like genocide and failure and just terror that happened before 1914, proportionate with the amount of people living on the earth, things have actually been worse in history.
History,
They
yeah.
aren't as bad now.
Yeah,
But-
slavery, hello. Aren't a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses black?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's
Have fun with that one.
yeah, including Ja Rule and who else?
That's
There's,
so
like,
awesome. Yeah, let's get the dirty on all the
celebrity
celebrities.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Wankster was actually 50 Cent calling him out for like not witnessing hard enough.
That's one of the worst. Okay, it's one of my favorite rap beef disses, but also not enough people knew Ja Rule was a Jehovah's Witness. But I remember like 50 Cent just told Ja Rule, he was like, yeah, when I was out on the streets like slinging coke, you were giving people watchtowers, and it was like, whoa. Like that's how soft Ja Rule is. It's so funny.
So good.
Yeah, I
That
love
whole
that one.
beef is so fun. Like, there's like, so they did so many tracks against Ja Rule. Like Eminem got in there and like
Oh, yeah, that
Exhibit
poor
and shit.
guy.
Oh my
Wait,
god.
why? What did he do?
I think people just thought he was corny. Like, and I don't think he's that bad.
The way you witnessed.
I love that song.
I love that song. I think like it's so funny. I rolled up tonight listening to you ever listen to Drink Champs, the podcast?
No.
With like NORE and like it's like a rap podcast, and the guest
Noticed
like
it.
it's Ja Rule's on it, and it's kind
Wait,
of
like
awesome.
always on it, or just
No,
as a
it
guest?
was the
Okay.
guest. The recent guest is
Yeah.
really good.
Oh, dude.
Ja Rule has a podcast.
Welcome to Jeru's Rules.
Yeah. Other famous celebrity Jehovah's Witnesses, Venus and Serena Williams.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know who brought Prince in was Larry Graham, the bassist for Sly and the Family Stone.
That's so fucking
Yeah.
funny.
Didn't Serena Williams marry a Jewish dude?
Yeah, so again, they are at this point inactive.
Oh, okay,
But
good
like,
for them.
if you look back at their first, like when they first came out as tennis stars,
Mm-hmm.
after games and after matches, sometimes they would like thank Jehovah.
Okay.
And I remember witnesses are always excited when somebody big, even though this is what's fucked up. You're not supposed to try to be anybody big. You're not really supposed to go to college. You're not supposed to try to get a career. It's just keep things simple until Armageddon comes. But when somebody big is like kind of a good person, and then they also like shout out Jehovah. I remember Terrence Howard. Turns out he's a little bit of a maniac, but and does not have a dick. I guess I don't know. It's very weird. Do you know about Terrence Howard?
Wait, he doesn't have a penis?
It's real.
He's got
weird.
a tiny little dick.
Look, I don't want to shame him, but also if you have a micro penis and you're embarrassed about it, which he is, don't do a nude scene where you step out of a shower in a movie and you have a full bush. Because
Is it a full micro penis? It's like a micro penis.
I can't imagine that it would be any bigger than a teenager's thumb hard. Like
my
it is the
God.
littlest thing in the world. Nonetheless, That's okay. You can have that. No big deal.
Yeah.
He has the smallest penis in the world. But that's fine.
I think his opinions on math are worse than anything he has going on with his dick.
Dude, he
Wait,
thinks 2
math?
+ 2 = 5?
Yeah, he had this whole thing about it was almost negative. It was like 2 + 2 = 1 somehow. He's got like a weird. He thinks math is wrong. He has his own math.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
But
Terrence
I
Howard
remember.
Sounds like he's
that-
Wait, one more thing about it. He also walks, because he's got like a fucked up leg or something, probably from his dick not being big enough. But he walks with a cane and it has a sword in it. He walks
Oh my
with
God,
a
it's
sword
the
cane.
smallest thing.
Isn't it so weird? I know. If you look it up, it's stepping out of the shower. It barely shows up.
It's like a
Oh, dude,
large...
it took me a while to like.
Yeah, you can't find it. It's like a Where's Waldo of dicks. Like, you really can't find it. Nonetheless, Terrence Howard, there was a documentary on PBS called Knocking about a Jehovah's Witness kid who I think was dealing with like a blood transfusion or something. Terrence Howard, the night that it premiered, introduced it. Like, just like, tonight on PBS, this documentary, Knocking. Now, anybody could do that, whatever. But witnesses were so excited that Terrence Howard said something nice about the documentary, and they were like, we got to get him to be a brother.
That it was
Terrence
on
Howard.
next.
Immediately, Terrence Howard is like a witness icon for just saying something nice about witnesses. Like,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff happened a lot. They were so, like...
Representation matters, man.
It does, and I think the part of it is we don't have much oh boy, I'm still...
Oh, no.
Oh man, we're deep in that part of the
We've
brain.
reprogrammed you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're
But
good.
when I talk about this, I actually feel it, and so it still feels like me. Like the idea that, like, especially if you are wondering if it's true and if any of it makes sense and if you're doing the right thing, you really are grasping at straws. And when you see one little thing happen that's like, okay, that guy says we're okay, we must be okay, it can keep you going a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
totally.
And it's helpless and kind of sad, but like it's just all you need sometimes to
Makes
power
sense.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were talking about that it was like a pyramid shaped community and that there were like these incentives.
Yeah.
What were the incentives?
Just more work. That's the weird thing. Like, the more work you were doing, the better.
Yeah.
So you would get, I remember as a kid, it was like, if I could run microphones during the public discussion, like pass the microphone to somebody, that was like a huge deal. Then when I started running the sound department, that was a huge deal. But then when you get like longer speaking parts, that was a big deal.
Then when you get a part in the Jehovah's Witness skate video.
I wish. Yeah, that would have been so cool. Yeah, we got in trouble for making a skate video once because we had like a rap song that had cussing in it, and as like the track.
What was the song?
What was it? It was Tribe Called Quest Scenario.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be our
Also,
outro music.
it was a 2-part video, and the other part was Sugar Ray. What's that song where the guitar sounds like an engine revving at the beginning? Is it called like RPM or something?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a Sugar Ray song. Early Sugar Ray. Like when they really fucking ruled.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Pinkerton of Sugar Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was for you.
that's just a little tummy rub for myself. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So should we wrap?
I don't know, man. Let's keep going. I'm having
Yeah,
fun.
I'm enjoying
Fuck this
myself.
shit.
Yeah.
Do you have a way to wrap your show? Is there like a thing you do?
No,
We tell everyone.
haven't even.
Yeah.
We put no effort.
We say "Hail Satan" in unison.
You have
Yeah.
to pee. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be dark. So there are no lights. Don't try and turn on the lights. Just feel it out. What I found to be useful, like to walk the line between like rigorous affirmative consent and like sort of sexual practicalities, where no one's like being super specific.
Right.
Yeah.
And so and I do that like, how about this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about this move?
Man, that must
What
work.
a cool voice.
Hey,
God, dude, you must be
do you like it
swimming
when
in
my dick turns this way?
I don't think my pussy will ever get wet again.
Hey, do you like it when I
Oh my
talk
God.
like this?
So, what would happen if someone
moves.
from the church heard this podcast?
So
Like,
it's
would you
happened.
be like,
It's
fucked?
happened. They've heard your stand up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what's happened when I first started stand up? There were a couple people from church that saw me tagged in an event, and I'm like, I can't do stand up anymore. Like, it's terrible. So I had to like.
They didn't
my
see you, though?
Facebook and- No, they didn't see. I told that they asked me. They're like, "Are you going to perform?" I'm like, "Oh, I canceled that, whatever." And then I just like blocked them, shut down Facebook, everything. What happened is like my mom. they're not like crazy like into the internet, and I've found ways to just completely get most of those people like out of my life, you know, like socially. But my mom saw my stand-up clip when I had first moved here, and I was talking about the divorce, and that's how she found out about my divorce.
Oh, man.
Dude, your poor mother. Jesus
Well, the thing
Christ.
was, at the time, we didn't know what we were going to do yet. Like, we were separated heading to divorce, and what we wanted to do, because if you tell them, everybody in the church, that you are getting divorced, they're going to go, talk to the elders, they'll help you fix it, it'll be fine. We knew at that point, like, that this is not going well. Also, if you talk to the elders who we've been avoiding for years, they're going to say, well, you know what? Your marriage would probably benefit if you were coming to church more.
It's because you left the church.
It would have sucked us back in.
Right.
And also, we had mentally and physically left the church and had done very well together. It had nothing to do with religion.
Right.
But they're going to think it's the religion. They're going to be like, because you guys aren't doing
but
what
y'all
you should
been
be.
together since you were in your early 20s.
Oh,
right?
yeah. We were together for 13 years. I was 22, and she had just turned 21, I think, when we got married.
Yeah. So it's a pretty long run.
It's a long run, and we like kind of grew up together, left the church together secretly, and so us getting divorced was also our way of announcing to our family that we weren't doing the church thing anymore, because the only way to get divorced in the church is if one person had cheated on the other, and that's called that's like a scriptural divorce. An unscriptural divorce is if no matter what happens, and this is what sucks, man, because like a lot of times for women will get like emotionally or physically abused,
Jesus
but they
Christ.
can't divorce their husband because adultery in the Bible is the only reason you should leave. Yeah, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah, that sucks.
Aren't you? Isn't there something in the Bible about how you're not supposed to hit people?
Yes. However, what they would say is, but this is the weird thing. This is where like, and I don't even want to go like, wait, it's going to open up a whole nother thing, but like, sexuality is such a weird thing because they're like, you shouldn't be too sexual. She'd only be sexual with one person. There's only one way to be sexual, and that's straight with your married partner. That's it. But then it's like also sex is the only thing that should, you know, like ruin a marriage.
Right.
Like you could be. This has happened a lot.
You don't have to be a Jehovah's Witness for sex to ruin a relationship. Sorry, go on.
Well, look, this is the other thing that happens. This is like, it's really sad, is that you're not supposed to have sex before marriage, right? So a lot of people, that's why marriage...
Did you wait?
We did everything except, I personally didn't. I lost my virginity earlier.
Okay.
But like with her... we really wanted to have like as close to a scriptural marriage as possible. So we would do a lot of shit, but
a lot
we
of
never
fingering.
fucked. A lot of fingering.
A
A lot of like spitting on each other's junk.
A lot of tired mouths.
Yes, 100%. Like we would do all that. But
You
we never
were an
fucked.
anything but boy.
Yeah, exactly. We did.
It sounds like you do anything with your butt.
Yeah, I'm an anything but boy.
Well, that is a loophole in some religions.
No,
Yeah.
it is Mormon.
And Catholicism
I've heard.
also.
Oh,
Anal?
really? No.
Yeah.
There was one girl in 8th grade who had anal sex and was like, "I'm still a virgin." I was like, "Fuck
Yep.
you, Caitlin.
Yeah.
You're not."
It's biologically actually called the loophole.
Yeah, but like we did everything, and this is what happens though. A lot of people, they don't do anything. They don't even make out too much. I'm serious. Because what does that lead to? You start making out, you're gonna grab a boob, you're gonna squeeze a butt, you're gonna do something, and then you're like,
And then you're gonna say, "Is this okay?"
I don't know why I thought that was so funny.
Well, but this is what happens. People, they get married to somebody they have no sex experience with, and then on their wedding night,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's Terrence
out.
Howard.
Yeah,
They
it's
find
like
out.
changing it.
yeah, but they find out they're not sexually compatible,
Right.
or they don't like sex, or somebody's got like you know.
You just have to like
Weird shit
pray
They
that they're into
guaranteed
piss
suck
or
at
Or
whatever.
you
sex
just like
at that
come
point, too.
immediately.
Yeah,
Which
there's
that's
no way they're good.
least of the problems, but
Right.
there are also people who have never consummated their marriage because of whatever their sexual hangups are. So they're just like, and that leads to somebody like one mate cheating on the other. The mate who never got fucked, thinking they were going to get fucked because they waited to get married.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking you're talking about
Cheats.
British friends.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mate.
It's like that person is the bad person for cheating, for just wanting to get like a dick or a puss.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know why I'm talking about sex this way, but you know, whatever. Or
We're
a
in
hole.
it. We're
Find,
here.
find a wormhole.
a loophole.
They go and find a loophole, and then they get in trouble, even though the other person was like, "Yeah, I said I'd fuck you, but I didn't for 10 years." It's like the way they treat sex is so insane.
So are unconsummated marriages still considered marriages in the eyes of the Jehovah's Witnesses?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because the marriage is
Because
is
Catholics
in front
gotta
of
fuck.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catholics
Wait,
got-
Catholics, you have to fuck?
Yeah, you're not married until you fuck. I'm pretty sure.
Now that's a good loophole.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah, that's a good loophole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Force someone who doesn't want to have sex with you to have
No,
sex with you.
but I'm just saying.
Theologically.
Okay, but it's a good loophole for women.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get out of there. That's okay.
I'm just saying, I think it would suck to be married to someone that wouldn't have sex with you and then be like, but also no one else can.
Yeah.
You can never do anything.
You can
also,
never
you're
have
not supposed to
sex.
masturbate either. So.
Oh, wait, are you allowed to eat your wife out? Because in Catholicism, you're not even supposed to do oral sex.
No, you weren't supposed to.
Unless you're like spitting cum while you're
Unless
doing
you're, they in Catholicism, they like talk to us about this. You're allowed to do it like briefly as foreplay, but only if it's assisting intercourse that's meant to welcome new life.
Right.
Yeah.
So like if your wife's pussy's not wet and if you don't have any lube, then you can spit on her pussy, but you cannot eat her out and
But
make her
lube's
come.
cool.
But you're not supposed to want to come, which is ridiculous.
I love the idea of like two older Catholic people in like a
Lube's cool if it's to make a baby. That's
Oh,
it.
that's
What's
yeah.
cool if it's
Lube.
Oh, lube. I
Yeah,
thought you
you
said
can use lube.
like
yeah.
the beehole. No, just like I would love the idea of two older Catholic people like having sex in a delivery room for someone else's baby. It's like welcome.
Yeah.
That's a loophole, baby. I should be a God lawyer.
Oh fuck!
I remember-
wish they could have seen your face when you said welcome. God damn, that was good.
That's my one act out for the night for the
Yeah,
pod.
I remember we had a Watchtower, and it's weird because some of the Watchtower articles were like very graphic because every once in a while, every few years, you have to review the sex rules with the congregation. And there was a girl who was a little off. And she bad genetics, and she was a little off.
Developmentally.
Yeah, she was a little,
Okay.
she just seemed drunk all the time, but she was 12. Because I don't want to say any words, but like that's how she acted.
I don't want to say
got
any
you.
words, so I'm just
got
gonna use the worst
Right.
analogy.
No, it's
And
great. I get
there was
it.
a super old dude who was doing the Watchtower. He was leading the Watchtower discussion, and we got to a thing about like oral and anal sex, and so it was an uncomfortable paragraph for everybody. And then he asked the question, what is the Bible stance on oral and anal sex? And of course, nobody wants to raise their hands. And then old Marlena's hand goes. There's nobody else to call on, and he's waiting and he's waiting.
Man.
He's like, friends. He's like, all right, Sister Marlena, and then she just like starts
Reciting Leviticus or what?
She just was like, her response was so correct,
Yeah.
and so perfect, but in her voice, I'm like, oh my god,
man.
and it was like it made it 5 times as bad.
Yeah.
What was the actual answer though?
The response? It was that a lot of alternative sex practices beyond normal
Intercourse,
vaginal
right.
penile stimulation is rooted in debauchery and the gay culture and all that. So like anal sex is like like they think that gay people invented anal sex, which maybe they did, but good for them.
I
It's
mean,
cool. Everybody has a
probably.
butthole. Everybody's
Yeah.
got a loophole. It's
No,
fine.
I don't know. I think some straight guy realized that he had a prostate. They didn't have much to
Yeah.
do back then.
But also women.
I mean,
like,
gay men might have invented
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I mean, like
Women-
before there were human beings, there were proto hominids like fucking each other.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
gender wasn't the
Right.
same.
Gender wasn't the same,
Yeah,
exactly.
people have been butt fucking for.
totally.
Yeah,
So who cares who invented
like,
it?
gay dudes
Everyone
more.
should do it.
Yeah, it was
Except
just
me,
so
'cause it
weird to
hurts.
hear like like an 11-year-old like special ed kid just tell all the adults what like is wrong with anal sex in
Right.
church. It's like, oh my god, so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
God, yeah. Well, it just
Only
shows-
religion would make that situation.
I know,
possible.
and that's one of those things where I'm like, we should have Sunday school. Because like
Yeah.
anybody under 15 should not be in here for this discussion, but like we have like kids, like babies sitting in here listening to adults
Oh,
talk about
Jesus.
sex. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, at least like children were exposed to some semblance of sex ed. Like Catholics would never do that shit. Catholics would be like, it's a mystery.
No, Catholics, they got really in depth with us about shit.
Can you pass me?
Go ahead.
So,
Is that a beer?
wait,
Yes.
what were you saying Catholics would never do?
They would just never like get to kids so young.
Well, they had to talk to us about our periods. So we had
They
a
didn't have
sex.
to.
Well,
They
yeah,
chose
they
to.
did. They didn't want to clean up the fucking chairs. You know what I mean? Like they
No,
did,
you
yeah.
have to make the kid who's menstruating clean up the chair and go shame.
Shame. Yeah, no, they
Wait.
did a lot of that. I like make it a point to like I work right by the nurse's office now, and whenever girls are like, they like walk in and look panicked, and I'm like, if I'm ever like, oh, the nurse is in the office, they'll be like, I'm having my period. That's what they all say.
Yeah.
They say I'm having my period, and then I hand them a pad, and then they act like it's the nicest thing anyone's ever did because I know where the pads are.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, my nurse was really nice, but like we had a sex ed talk that just like gave us all this like very, very medical, because literally mentioning like the word vagina or like mentioning how to use a tampon or how to use a pad was too creepy for them or something. And so they just told us like, every month, if it's not fertilized, you will blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then, like, you might blah, blah, blah. And then you can go to the nurse. Mm-hmm. And they didn't give you any information that, like, really made sense.
Right.
And then they were like, and sex is for people who were married. And this will happen when you're married. And everyone was just like, what? Yeah. So they, like, didn't do any of that. But then as we got older, the teachers changed. You don't have to be a certified teacher to work at a Catholic school. So, like, some teachers were super liberal, and they would be like, you should masturbate. Like, our school counselor, who also had horrible opinions about everything and hated fat people.
It's such a funny thing. But you probably should. Someone should say that to a kid.
She told Dr.
But you don't
Nietzschman-
want to be the person who does.
I'm going to say Dr. Nietzschman told us all. Dr. Nietzschman was weird to me a few times, and she like hated fat people and was she used to be a ballerina, so bad person to have doing body dysmorphia stuff. Dysmorphia. But she was really cool about LSD and masturbation. She told us all that we should be masturbating. She was just like,
doing LSD.
You should, and then she was like, if you're gonna do a drug, and if you can find real LSD, it's non-addictive and it's not gonna do any long-term damage. It's insane who they hired at this fucking school.
You should also read Robert Anton Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, every child should have someone tell them you should masturbate. But you're right. Like, you don't want to like I couldn't go to a school.
You can't tell a kid
and
that.
be like, like just stand at the gates and be like during like recess, like, you should all jack it, man.
Exactly. But like,
Trust me.
The best advice I ever got from anybody like older than me in church was there was this like real cool old sassy lady who went to Denver, Colorado for the first time. She came back wearing new cowboy boots, and all she said to me was, "Go west, young man." That is the only advice anybody's ever given. I was like, man, Donna is cool as shit.
Applause break for Donna.
Donna is the coolest name ever.
I didn't realize there was a cooler way to do that than the way my dad did, because it was like my dad gave me the sex talk. Like we went to go get donuts, which was like 5 minutes away in the car, and on the way back, he fucking nailed it. It was awesome.
I know. Okay, go ahead.
What
I just think something's
say?
gonna happen with the donuts.
No, yeah, me and my dad fucked the donut. That was the longest John you'll ever see.
You didn't fuck a donut. You just rolled it onto a banana.
Oh no.
No, but he gave me like great advice. He just said like, okay, that was probably like 12 or something. He was like, this is the age where I'm supposed to give you the sex talk.
Right.
So first of all, if you're gay, fine. I swear to God.
That's so
if you're
good.
gay, fine.
Yeah, if you're gay, fine.
We'll figure it out.
Always use a condom, and don't ever do anything that's gonna ruin anyone's life.
That's so practical.
That's really
It's so
good.
good.
Well, it's good. It's better than 99% of the parent sex talks.
Yeah.
It's more of a philosophical level. Like, don't do anything that's going to ruin anybody's life, including your own.
That's Emmanuel
great
Levinas,
advice.
baby.
Because if that's in your head, instead of a bunch of rules.
But when you're 12, you don't know what's going to ruin people's lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If that were me, I would
sure he
have
went into
spent
more
my
detail.
entire sexual
Yeah.
career after that being like,
Is this going to ruin someone's life?
like, I hope gentle hair tugging doesn't ruin anybody's life. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think he like.
Is this okay?
He knew I was like a smart enough kid to like understand like don't do it to someone.
Yeah,
who
you
doesn't
had a
want
lot of
to,
freedom,
and-
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Hippie fucking parents who were like, "Do you
I
want to
had
have a bar mitzvah?
horrible-
You'll get a bunch of money." And I was like, "I don't want to study." And they were like, understandable.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You learn Hebrew for cold hard cash. That's what I would do.
I mean, that's what.
That sounds
bar mitzvah
way more
is for so
anti-Semitic than I
many
meant
kids.
it. Yeah. I didn't realize that people sent you money when you graduated from college, so I just didn't tell anyone. And
Oh shit!
I regret that.
I should have had a bar mitzvah and graduated from college. I didn't do either of those things.
Yeah. Well, I have to pee.
All right. Cool.
Should we?
Yeah, let's
Just
just
wrap?
Let's wrap this shit. I
Yeah,
think
it's
this is
8:08.
good.
Yeah.
Isaac, do you want to plug anything?
There's a good chance that this won't go up for months, or not months,
I
but
don't
like
really
a
have
month.
anything to plug.
What about your Twitter handle?
Everything's Twitter at Isaac Kozell.
Spell it.
ISAACKOZELL. And then isaackozell.com, which I don't like promoting websites, but that has everything. Like it's got upcoming shows and
I think we should be promoting our websites.
yeah.
I think it's fine. I think that you're funny enough that you should do that. I want to promote Box Comedy, which is the third Saturday of every month, which means that it is Saturday. Wait, December 15th.
Oh wait, do you know when this is coming out at all?
I would say probably within. Well,
We'll be able to put this one out within like a couple weeks. I think.
we'll be able to put something up in a couple weeks, but it's probably going to be our first episode. Like, unless we want this to be the first episode.
Let's just do this one first.
Yeah, I think that's
like
a
this
good
one.
idea. This is a strong one.
I will. Okay, I'm gonna give you a date real quick. You can cut it out if you want.
Yeah,
But,
that's a great idea.
I've got a new show at Port Orleans Brewery. It'll be Thursday, December 13th, and it's going to be like a comedy club style show, just host, feature, headliner.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And
it's so funny that that's weird, but it is weird.
it just doesn't happen here.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
happen. Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
I love that you
Comedy
guys
style
both
comedy show.
plugged shows directly competing with mine, and I'm not going to plug mine. Go to theirs instead.
Yeah. All right. Well, good job, everybody.
All right.
See you later.
Peace.
Love you.